There we go. I'm going to take this, bring it back. Now I noticed some interesting surfaces right here that I missed before. There we go. That's just fun stuff that if you make it up, it's fun and it's cool, but when it's really there, it looks made up and yet it looks even cooler. Sometimes it's just great to go with what you see and learn from that and build up a vocabulary that is that's just fun. I use the word fun a lot, but it's true. You just want everything to be really fun when you're working. You don't want work to become work. And if it does, that's when it's time to find some other work to do, something that's fun again. So when I put this light here, notice how it really punches up the darkness of the shadow. It's a crisp edge. It's light against dark. I'm just outlining now. I'm going to fill that in the background a little bit, but for now it's just an outline because I'm worried about the edges. Sometimes with paint you can't get away with that, or it's a little more tricky because you have to worry about that edge, maybe a texture in the paint, and then when you fill in the background it just doesn't translate as well, or that texture is still there. Sometimes with markers or pencils you can see that edge when you finish. See, right now the great thing about digital is it's consistent. Now I'm not working with textures in my brushes. That's one thing you can do in Photoshop that I love, but I haven't been doing lately because I'm worried about my brush stroke and I want to try to practice that. I want to get comfortable with that. The textures are fancy and cool and they're fun and they give great effects, but I'm trying to get those effects without them. And I find that fun. It's a challenge. It's a hell of a challenge. And if I can get comfortable with that, then I feel like I'm one leg up on where I was before. One thing cool about this dog is this tucks in here. I'm going to cut away this a little bit and pull it out. And then maybe not so much. And then bring it right back in right there. Love that neck. It's like a llama or something. It's another animal that I need to draw because I'm not too familiar with. I want to be able to have that mental vocabulary and that muscle memory to draw certain anatomy and certain shapes of most animals. Because when you can do that, you can be so much more versatile and jump back and forth from drawing people to drawing animals. You can do illustrations without so much reference. That's one of my goals. I want to be able to draw things without reference, and I want them to be believable, even if they're cartooned. I want people to look at an elephant and not think, wow, he made up that silly cartoon elephant. I want them to look at it and go, oh, that's a cool elephant. Because you notice that in a lot of these animated movies that have been out recently, is that the animal design is wonderful. And that's because, and Disney had that too back in the day. They probably still do. I just haven't seen a lot of Disney films lately, besides the Pixar films, which I really enjoy. But you can go back and see that they did their homework. And they really made it great, even when they're stylizing. They really did their homework, and they're making it look wonderful because they're taking the information there and they're exaggerating and simplifying. And it looks like you could make it up. There's a quality to it. Someone could say, oh, that person just, they drew it. It's like Garfield. When I was a kid, I'll admit it, I had some tracing paper, and I used to trace the comic Garfield by Jim Davis. And I thought it was so cool looking, and I didn't know why. And then later I found out that it's based on shapes, it's based on appeal, and more importantly to what I'm talking about right now, it's based on an actual cat. Maybe limited to a limited extent, but it's still based on a cat. And I didn't realize why it's so cool to me. But then as you get older, you realize, and the more you study, you realize that these are choices that they're making and decisions that they're making. And it's not just cool appeal. Not solely appeal. It has a lot to do with a good cat. Now, I've got the background just about finished. I'm just sort of blocking in areas where I want light and dark. I'll probably jump up one more step in the value scale and create a little bit of light around him just to create some interest in a certain part of his body or his head, or to pull out an edge. That's something I'm experimenting with lately, so it might be fairly simple, but it's something that interests me because I'm trying it out. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to start tackling this on a more broad scale up here. Maybe get a more soft flow to this background. Painterly, you can get a painterly look pretty quick if you use big brushes. I mentioned that in my Tom Cruise podcast. If you haven't seen that, you can go to bloomdigitalpodcast.blogspot.com. That's where this is posted. You might be there right now for all I know. Now I'm staying true to form where this dog is sitting on a cushion. Just going to go ahead and leave that cushion in there because I like the linear element right there. I'm just going to extend this like it's a big soft couch or something that he's on. And I'm going to throw the shadow in there. But you can see some more of my podcasts at bloomdigitalpodcast.blogspot.com. That's BLUHM. You can see some more of my work at JoeBluhm.com. A lot of illustration and caricature going on there, but I'm going to have some more things soon. And you can also go to rejectsthebook.com if you want to see some of my see some samples from my new book. Just published this year in the summer of 2007. A little late in the year actually, so it's published in, I believe, just before August I had it ready. And I'm pretty proud of that because it's doing very well. Animators seem to love it. Designers seem to enjoy it. And it's getting a good reaction. I've been to a few shows, been traveling around, promoting it, and signing some autographs for people and doing some caricatures for people. I've been doing some very inexpensive caricatures at these comic shows that I've been going to. And some people are telling me that they think I should be charging more. And I've realized that the work I'm putting into each drawing is worth more than the $10 that I'm charging. However, at those shows only, don't email me and ask me to do a $10 caricature. I'm not going to do it. I'll charge you $100 or $200 or $300 or something like that, but I'm not going to be doing those at home. But when I'm at those shows, I'm there to promote the book, and I'm there to get as many people to enjoy it as I can. And if that means doing cheaper caricatures, that is the reason I chose to do it, and that's very worth it to me. I'm enjoying the fact that anyone who's interested that isn't familiar with who I am or what I'm doing, they can just walk up and say, this looks kind of cool. I'm not going to break my bank or invest hugely into your artwork, but I'd like to get a caricature. So even if they don't buy the book, they can at least spend $10 and get something to take home that they can laugh at. And the other thing is, I really want people to understand what good caricature is. And that's sort of a big goal of mine. I've been doing it for years in theme parks. That might not be the best place for it, like I talked about earlier. But it's a big goal of mine, and I don't plan on quitting that goal. On letting people realize what good caricature is. That doesn't mean my way is the good way. That means that there's good caricature and bad caricature. And unfortunately, a lot of people think that bad caricature is good caricature, or they expect it. And then when they see something that's good, they get surprised. So I'm not going to go into his pause here. I feel like I just have not enough time right now. I can work on that later. But I am going to bring this up in its value a little bit. And I'm going to paint some lights here. Might have gone a little too far with that. There we go. Then I can define this edge a little more in the foreground. You right here. That's the great thing about digital painting too. Don't be afraid to undo. Just know that when you're painting, you want to be able to paint. That's why I don't paint on layers and with gradients too often. I did that for a little while before when I was a little younger and first started digital painting because I didn't know, I wasn't comfortable, and I thought, oh, I can't just paint. I need to do digital stuff, like in a digital world. And my friend Dion, one day when I was doing an illustration at his house in Tampa, he says, why don't you stop being a pansy and start painting? Because I was masking off this huge area on some guy's face in an illustration, and I didn't want to, it was just taking forever, and I didn't want to deal with the edges and keeping in the lines and stuff. And I was like, man, masking this is taking too long because I got to fill in areas. And